good, we're good.
Roll on your stomach. Now.
Well, right now, if you average it out, just the 2015 totals, about 2 people are dying every single day during a police-involved shooting. Some of those shootings, like the ones we showed you, the one this week in Boston, we haven't seen that video yet, the one in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which you did see there in that montage, they've been caught on camera.
The Washington Post reports that nearly 1 in 6 of those killed by police were unarmed. But do these numbers really tell the whole story?
Let's bring in our roundtable right now. Ford O'Connell, chairman of the Civic Forum PAC, and Chelsi Henry, attorney and political strategist. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you for having us.
All right, Ford, let's start with you. This data has prompted Democratic Senators Barbara Boxer and California Senator, she's from California, Cory Booker's from New Jersey, to introduce a new bill. That bill would require police to report all of these types of shootings to the Department of Justice. Is this necessary?
I think it's a good idea. Look, we don't have a lot of accountability. My concern here with what Boxer and Booker are providing is something that could actually be bastardized and taken out of context and used as a political football. I'd like to see others weigh in on this, like Peter King from New York, who's a former NYPD beat cop, also former Rep Mike Rogers is an FBI agent, and obviously Bernie Kerik, who appears on this network. There's a lot of folks that need to be weighing in on this. We need to find a way to have greater accountability because we actually don't have accountability, but it's got to be something that's got to be done right and not just out of anger and fear.
Chelsi, what do you think?
I think this is a great step in the right direction. At the end of the day, whenever someone dies, it's tough for all the family members involved. When we look at police-involved shootings, as Americans, we see police officers, or a connotation for many people, including myself, is they're there to protect us. And so whenever there is concern about those who are in authority abusing their power, it's great to have accountability. And let's talk about this. Whenever a police officer is killed in the line of duty, it's reported. So why not do that for the citizens that they're protecting?
Right, because right now they're relying on self-reporting, and I think if we're talking about being transparent, it's always better to be more forthcoming.
Yeah,
data collected from.
Let me throw one thing in there, Miranda, and that is my concern here is we just had the CIA torture report, okay? And that was used as a political football because those numbers were thrown out of whack. I just want to make sure that we do this in such a way that it can be used to actually create better policing and not be used as a political football between the parties trying to score points with certain demographics.
Well, we're going to talk about how
this should be a political issue. This should be about the lives and Americans who the police officers should be protecting.
Fair enough, fair enough. Because as you're about to show us, Miranda, some of the data is pretty surprising.
Yeah, it is. Let's take a look at that. New reports and police records show that of the 400 people involved in deadly police shootings over the past 5 months, the majority, nearly 200, were white males, 100 were black, and about 50 were Hispanic. Chelsi, your thoughts on this?
Any life that is taken, it's a tragedy. When we look at the numbers, as you just shared, they also, in that report, was a percentage that 80% of these people were unarmed, 92% were mentally ill. So this is also another opportunity for there to be education, not only among police officers, but among the community of things that individuals should be doing so that these mistakes, these accidents, tragic accidents, don't continue to happen, and where we're already at half of the year and almost 2 people per day their lives are being taken.
Ford, I want to go back to what you were saying, that you're worried it's going to be used as a political move, but every other organization has to be held accountable. So why not the police?
I think you're absolutely right. But look, you got to understand something, Miranda. I've worked in 2 police departments and 2 DA's offices spread out across this country. Let me tell you something. Their record keeping on a lot of things is very, very bad. I'm not even sure each state could actually tell you, forget the federal government for a minute, how many people were actually fatally shot and killed. And remember, a lot of these records that are used are actually used to determine funding. So there's a lot more going on here, sadly to say, than just who's killed and who isn't. But we have to keep the victims in mind here, but at the same time, we have to come up with a cohesive system such that, again, from funding to political footballs on Capitol Hill, everything is kept 5 by 5 and everyone knows what's going on. And I do agree with Chelsi here. One thing is the general public does not know when an officer can use deadly force. Usually it comes down to 2 things. Are they in fear for their life, or are they in fear for those around them? And let me say something else. Half the killings actually occurred in domestic disturbances and roadside stops. Guess what? That's the #1 place that cops most likely to get killed.
Yep, it is true. It's so true. And you talk to police officers, they are most concerned about these domestic disputes. They spend most of their time breaking up fights between husbands and wives. Things are not going on when they could be doing police work out on the street. So that's an interesting topic. But we are going to talk about how gun control is getting very political in the House of Representatives coming up very soon. We're going to have Ford and Chelsi come right back with us. But quickly, before we go away to a commercial break, we're going to take a live look in again. Folks getting ready down in Texas for a big announcement today. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry about to jump into the 2016 race. A lot of folks remember his oops comment from the last time around. Couldn't remember those 3 government branches that he would eliminate. Is he going to redeem himself this time around? Rick Perry, a lot of folks looking forward to him getting in the race. Also, he's got that indictment. Remember that still hanging over his head? Yeah, but that could work
for him or against him. We'll have to ask Ford and Chelsi what they think.
We'll talk about this and much more coming back right after this. And we bring you back for part 2 of our roundtable. Republican strategist and chairman of the Civic Forum PAC, Ford O'Connell, and Chelsi Henry, attorney and political strategist. Ford, we're talking about how people tend to politicize things nowadays. It tends to happen. Let's take a look at gun control, because House Republicans right now are trying to tie the funding for the DOJ and a new bill to rollbacks of controversial gun regulations put in place by the Obama administration. But House Democrats like Steve Israel are livid. He says, quote, once again, the Republicans are governing dangerously by planning to offer a poison pill amendment that jeopardizes the safety of our law enforcement and first responders. Even if you agree with the Republicans here out of principle on this, do you think they can pull this off without it backfiring?
Yeah, they can pull it off because they are really hacked off about what the Obama administration's been doing with gun regulations, particularly through the ATF, whether it's banning ammunition, trying to tax ammunition, take away certain guns. This is really what they need to be standing on, because it's really the Democrats who are playing games here on this, particularly the Obama DOJ.
Chelsi?
I am a lifetime member of the NRA, and so I support gun rights. I support the ability for us as Americans to carry guns, to buy guns, to protect ourselves. And so what we're seeing, is there a political component to it? Yes. But what's more important is the fact that you and I have a right to protect ourselves and to carry weapons. And that is the issue, and that's the principle that's at stake in these debates.
Oh, have you ever been to Georgia?
And let me say one more thing, John, why this is rationally related here. The Department of Justice and Loretta Lynch is the top cop in America. Her job is to execute the laws, not to be a political arm of the administration. And right now, Democrats in particular are trying to roll back the Second Amendment any way possible. And if Republicans don't take a stand here, it's going to be a slippery slope, and Democrats are going to try to push this every single time. And this is a smart move by Republicans, and one that's actually well supported, so long as they get out on the stump and explain themselves why they're doing this and why they're tying this to the Department of Justice.
That's the trick, and that's where they've tripped up when they try to do this in other issues, even though they've been well-meaning. And I think a lot of Chelsi and Ford, and we would agree with what they were trying to do. They have not executed that properly, so that's the concern here. But let's move on.
Yeah, let's talk about your home state, Georgia.
Go Dogs.
You guys ready? Well, Georgia's new gun rules kicked in on Tuesday, allowing residents to carry guns into bars, clubs, and even government buildings. Take a look at this photo. You guys can see this. This is Jim Cooley, and yes, he's carrying an AR-15 rifle in Atlanta's airport. Now, the law allows residents to cross TSA checkpoints with a gun, but Cooley claims police harassed him while he was at the airport by asking about his firearm. No TSA jokes, by the way, right? So which is it, Ford? I just want to say that right now. Let's focus. So which is it, Ford? Is there too much gun control or not enough? What do you think?
Well, that was up to the people in the state of Georgia. Let me say this. He says he was harassed. He brought probable cause upon himself because he was in a crowded airport carrying an AR-15. I'm for obviously constitutional protections, but we have to be smart. The cops were right to follow him. They didn't know who he was. And once they actually ran his numbers and stuff, they let him go. And that's honestly what you have to do. That was smart policing and not harassment on the cops' part in Georgia.
Well, Chelsi, I have been a member of the NRA in the past. I don't think my membership is active. Don't tell anybody. But, you know, you look at this situation in Georgia, I would be freaked out. I'll be honest with you. If I saw somebody with an AR-15 in the airport, even though I respect everyone's right to carry a weapon, and if you're going to go into the airport and you feel like you got to carry a sidearm, how about covering it up? I would be a little freaked out. I'm going to be honest with you.
Would that freak you out, Chelsi?
I mean, of course, it's an AR-15. So would I be a little freaked out seeing it? Yes. But at the same time, I mean, I believe in my Second Amendment rights, so I'm not going to walk around in fear because most likely I'm going to be packing as well. So we're all, you know, living out the Second Amendment our own way. And just to the point that Ford made, I don't think that he was harassed. You're in a crowded airport, you're in the facilities. They were patrolling, they were doing their job. You know, he wasn't detained unlawfully, from what I read. And so, yeah, they followed him. And I think that that was great. And as we continue to see, you know, open carry laws taking place, it does take an adjustment for everyday Americans to see that and to understand, okay, it's okay, but also I have a right to carry my gun as well.
Do you feel the same way about college campuses?
Let me make one point of
Texas,
clarification, Miranda. Jim Cooley down in Georgia is not allowed to cross over to the TSA checkpoint. Once you cross over to the TSA checkpoint, that's federal land, and the federal government can say, guess what? You don't have a right to carry a firearm past the TSA checkpoint.
Real quickly, though, I want to get your thoughts because we're on the topic of guns. You know, Texas is also expanding its open carry law and allowing students to carry on college campuses. We're running out of time, but real quickly, Ford, do you have an issue with this? Is this okay?
You know, my problem is I get caught between the Second Amendment and the United States versus Lopez, which says in 1990 you're not allowed to do that. But I'm going to be perfectly honest. Guess what? Most of the killings and rampage killings actually occur in gun-free zones, and that's my concern. So if Texans pass this, God bless Texas.
Chelsea?
Yes, this was actually debated in many House legislatures, legislatures across the country this year, and I support it because to the point here in Tallahassee where I live, there was a shooting at FSU in a gun-free zone. Students should be allowed to protect themselves, and we've seen countless testimonies across the country from individuals, students specifically, who want to be able to protect themselves, whether it's against robbery, rape, sexual assault. So
Fair
yes,
enough.
they should be allowed.
Chelsea, Henry, Ford O'Connell, thank you both for joining us for this roundtable. Good to have you.